everyone, I'm Claudia, host of Candid with Claudia, and today's episode is in honor of Veterans Day. As a military spouse, we are celebrating the men and women who serve our country and continue to serve in different ways every day. This Veterans Day special is sponsored by Veterans First Legal, VA accredited attorneys committed to helping veterans and their families receive the benefits and justice they deserve. You can find them on LinkedIn or at their website, veteransfirstlegal.com. My guests today are a powerful couple whose story truly embodies service, sacrifice, and strength. Kendra, after 24 years in the Navy, traded her uniform for entrepreneurship, now coaching and mentoring women to build financial freedom and peace of mind. And her husband, Daniel, a retired Navy SWCC operator and firearms instructor, is launching Strong Her Defense, empowering women with confidence and safety through self-protection training. We are also joined by my husband, Noel, a combat veteran, Army retiree, veterans' rights attorney, and community advocate. Together, they are proof that life after service can be just as purposeful as the years in uniform. So in honor of all the veterans, and especially those finding new missions beyond the military, this conversation is for you. Let's dive into this Candid with Claudia Veterans Day special, from service to strength. Hi, Kendra. Welcome to Candid with Claudia. I'm so excited.
Thank you. Me too.
You know, when we think of the power of social media, when it's used the way I believe it was created, intended to be used, how amazing is it?
It's amazing. It's changed my life.
It's, you sent me a DM, probably, I want to say May of this year. And look at us together. We are here. You flew in from Tennessee to be here today as we are celebrating Veterans Day. And thank you. Thank you so much for you and your husband. I can't wait till the husbands come and join us in a little bit. But I thought first, let's get to know each other. Not only are you a military spouse, but you and yourself were in the military. You were for 24 years in the Navy.
Yes.
So I kind of want to dive right into that, if that's okay with you.
All
right. Okay, let's do it. So you spent over 2 decades of service to the nation in the Navy. What was the biggest mind shift when you took off that uniform for the last time?
I think the biggest mindset shift for me when I retired from the military, I was already in entrepreneurship beforehand, but it still comes with its transitioning. And the biggest thing that I had to realize, and it's one that I help a lot of people focus on, is that you're not starting over. I think that when you hit that 20-year mark, then it's 21, 22, 23, 24, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be starting over. And that's scary. And a lot of people they'll resort back to going for something that doesn't pay them their worth, doesn't give them back their freedom, their time. So the biggest thing for me is that I'm not starting over. I'm just going to transition with the skill set and the experience that I've already had.
You know, I hear that from my husband, who will join us later, when he says, you know, it's interesting when they say, oh, you're retiring from the military, but you're not retiring. You're still working. So you are right. It's a transition. And I think that that is a great way if you help others see it that way as they're sort of shifting to the civilian sector from the military sector.
Right.
How did the structure and the discipline of military life influence how you now run your business or manage your day-to-day life?
So today in my day-to-day life, I actually run a very large team of entrepreneurs as well. So I have a coaching business as well. And one thing they'll always tell me is hey, remember, these guys aren't in the military. You're not running boot camp here. So I think I am very well regimented. I've built my life on structure. But honestly, what I feel like when I've transitioned to the military is I had to let a little bit of that go. You know, we find in the military, we value our identity on rank, on a structure, on how much authority you have. But when you come out in the civilian world, especially in entrepreneurship, it's really not about that. And so I had to really dive deep and just kind of let a little bit of that identity go within myself. So I wasn't just seeking that performance constantly. So that would probably be the biggest thing for me personally.
I can 100% see the same thing. You know, I'm not in the military, but being a military spouse, you sort of get those little tendencies. And as I own also a business, I have to remind myself, number one, I tell my husband, I'm not in your platoon. I'm not a soldier. I'm your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And second, I got to remind myself that my staff is my staff. They're not my platoon, because tendencies rub off. Great tendencies rubbed off to me as an entrepreneur.
So I'll answer a little bit more to that. I
Yeah.
think that, being that alpha type person, it's definitely learned. It's a learned skill.
Yeah.
But in the real world of entrepreneurship and what we're trying to push out into the world and make a difference is like we want everyone to have their own voice and step in and become their own visionary. Where the military, like, it really does put you in a box. Like, I'm so grateful for it. I was in a box because you're literally competing against different people, even though you don't realize that you really truly are. It's almost like for rank advancements, things like that, you are put against each other. And so moving away from that, you got to realize, like, not everyone's going to be like me.
Yeah.
And you really have to help them find their own voice, become their own visionary. And in that process of helping other people do that, I had to do that myself. So it was a hard thing for me to learn. I'm actually still in the process of doing that.
Well, it shifts me to my next question, because the next question I have is, the military often is part of who you are, which is what you're just saying. How did you have to rediscover you again in the civilian life? Or did you even need to?
No, I definitely needed to, because I was always performing. When you're in the military, you have a specific skill set you need to learn. You're showing up told to do a certain thing. And sometimes that brings a sense of comfort, right?
Yeah.
You have everyone telling you what to do, why you need to do it. And you've got to fit in this rank structure and this evaluation structure every year. And that's your only goal. Okay. Whereas when you become a visionary and you're outside that box, you're like, wow, I have free reign to build and become who God truly, honestly meant me to be. And so when you're doing that, when you start believing, and along with what you have here on turning, like, possibilities into reality, it's like, that is the first step. It's just believing that what's possible for you, so you can step into it. Because when you are in a box, which, don't get me wrong, you guys, the military is great. Like, I'm so grateful. I would do it 10 times over again. But you really do have to reinvent yourself. And it's a powerful thing. It could be really scary. It could stop you in your tracks and you do nothing. Or you can go into over here and say, look, what I've learned, and look what's possible for me here.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm really passionate about helping not just veteran women, a lot of veteran women, but all women specifically, to be able to see that and believe that for themselves.
Which segues to my next question. What was one big surprise about transitioning out of active service that you weren't expecting, or that you really weren't prepared for?
Well, this is funny because I hate saying it, but it's true, and people have to hear it, is that when you're not a need to the Navy or you're not a need to the military, you really, really aren't a need anymore. So you really are left out there to hang to dry. You know what I mean? Like, they'll help you transition, to help you get out, but a lot of things you just don't know, and you have to figure it out on your own. And it really, really is scary.
How did you figure it out?
Well, became a military spouse when I retired, because I retired 4 years before my husband did. So I got to live that life as well. But I would say the biggest thing is just tapping into the community around you. And again, why I reached out to you, because it's up to me to stay in that community. It's up to me to make a difference. I could choose to just leave myself out to dry and say, and be a circumstance and say, oh, well, they don't need me anymore. They don't care. It's 24 years. Or I can choose to go out there and interject myself in the community, and just so happens we connected. There's a lot of military spouses out there that won't respond. It won't be mutual, right? But I've lived both sides of the fence. I've done the military and I've done the military spouse, and it's really important to me to stay into the community and kind of, like, knit it together, I guess you can say, in my own way, shape, or form. And whether that just means me reaching out and saying, hey, I see you, and thank you, and I'm proud of you, keep doing what you're doing. Just as simple as that.
And that's exactly the DM that you sent me. The DM that you sent to me was not about you necessarily being in the military, but you're like, hey, you're a military spouse, so am I. And then we sort of engage in a conversation, which takes me to my next question. As a military spouse and someone who lived that lifestyle firsthand, what are some of the unseen challenges that civilians might never understand?
I would say all of it.
Right?
We were just talking about this yesterday, and I wish I could be a little bit more detailed on this. It might come up for me later, but people would always say to me, I don't know how you do it. How do you guys do it? Your husband's gone 9 months, and then you're still dealing with the cheerleaders and the kids and all the things. How do you do it? And you're just like, I just do it.
Yeah.
When you're given a specific skill, like, task to do, and you don't have a choice.
But do you think that exactly what you're saying, you learned when you were in the Navy? So you were in the Navy, you sort of learned that resilience, the skill set, because you have a platoon or a team that depends on you. You can't just stop and not do your work because everybody's dependent on you, and you're fighting for a rank, as you would say, right? So
Right.
I think you also learned that in the military, that you just got to keep going. No, you got to do it. No, you got to do it.
Right.
You got to
I
keep
think
moving.
that it comes to the factor of just understanding what it is you're doing. You really don't have a choice. You sacrifice. You sign up, for a contract and you're serving your country.
Yeah,
And it's just is what you do. It
yeah,
is almost like you are rewiring who you are.
yeah.
I joined when I was 17. So that was it for me. I went straight from high school to that. So it's all literally I've known until I retired 24 years later. So you just do it. You just do it and you figure it out. And so you do have civilian life. And I wouldn't say they have more choices or more opportunities, but a lot of people won't step into who they're truly meant to be because they've never given that structure. So it kind
Hmm.
of goes hand in hand.
Because imagine if you were 17, you were
Hmm.
17, and you receive that solid training and discipline at that
Hmm.
age, which I can tell you most 17-year-olds, unless they're going into the military, don't receive.
Hmm.
So that had to set a foundation of really who you are, right? Because it's
100%.
all you really know in terms
100%.
of discipline and, and,
Hmm.
and, and
Hmm.
sort of like that consistency and sort of way of life, that you just have to get up every day and you got to keep going and you got to do the right thing. You got to clean your shoes. I'm sure you got to make your bed and all
Iron,
of that,
yeah,
right? Iron the
everything.
uniform, all of that stuff, right? And yeah, I think what helped you and Daniel, your husband, stay
Mhm.
grounded as a couple through deployments, moves, and or life change challenges and changes?
That's a good question. Again, I was active duty for 20 years, 22 years before I met my husband. So we met towards the end of my career. So again, I was already accustomed to that lifestyle. I knew I understood it. So number one, having that mutual understanding. But number two, at the end of the day, we blended our families together.
Mm,
And so we knew, I mean, what we were doing is for our family. You always have to be grounded in your purpose and your why and all those
mm-hmm,
things. And this is a really hard question to answer for me personally because I'd already been in for, like I said, 22
yeah.
years. And my husband, you'll meet him in a second. He's like hardcore history Navy, guy. So we're like oil and water at that point. Even though I was in the military, I was more administrative logistics, and I'm excited for you to hear from him. But I just understood what he was doing, even though, he's gone for 9 months at a time. I did what I did as the military spouse now that I was retired. And I will tell you this, I felt like it was more difficult for me to be just a military spouse than me to actually be going to work every day, coming home and still taking care of the kids. Just being a straight military spouse was more difficult for me than actually serving, which is crazy. It
No,
is. It's a hard job.
I was not in the military, but I was the military spouse, and I can
Mhm.
see that.
Mhm.
There are things that we have to undertake by ourselves.
Mhm.
We got married in June of '09, and my husband left a week later.
Yeah.
And so that was the sort of the life that we had,
Mhm.
and the life that I became or had to become
Yes.
comfortable and familiar
We
with.
You planned everything around deployments, workups.
Hmm.
We got married, and I think it was 3 months after we got married, he was gone for 9 months. So
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah,
And it's just like you just knew what was to come. You just prepared for it
yeah.
mentally. I don't think you'll ever fully be prepared for it, but
And there's so much that goes in the day to day of not having your spouse around, especially as newlyweds and trying to start a
mhm.
family, that we had to go through, that the civilian don't understand or don't
Mm-mm.
see how and what they do in terms of being committed to this country, the sacrifices you make as a family.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. And everything wants to go kaput. The washer wants to go out, the tires want to go flat, like, everything goes wrong the day
yeah.
they leave, I swear.
Well, I'm blessed though. It was difficult, but I was blessed because I'm the youngest of nine. And while growing up, they all wanted to tell me what to do
Mhm.
because I was the youngest of nine. But now, we're all adults, I couldn't imagine my life without them because they were a big help during that time as well. So, not having a mom and dad, having siblings that look after you,
Mhm.
sort of everything when your spouse is deployed. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
family. Um, let's talk about turning possibility into reality.
Yeah.
When what do you think of that phrase? And what moment or decision comes to your mind post-military in your journey, possibility to reality with what you're doing?
Believing, 100%. When you start believing in the possibility, that's when everything changes.
Yeah.
But you first have to believe it. You can't look outward anywhere. You have to, it all comes within yourself, and I think that being an entrepreneur, I think that's another thing that I'm so blessed to have you, that the same people who don't have that entrepreneurship mindset, they have such a hard time believing in
Yeah.
themselves. So saying anything is possible, and it sounds like a Pinterest quote,
Mm-hmm.
anything is possible, but it truly does start with believing that
Mm-hmm.
anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to walk into possibility. You'll
Yeah.
never see it. It's all around you,
Yeah.
but you'll never see it. And so for me, I just knew, my personal story is, you know, we weren't financially well off. I mean, people think that you're in the military, you're financially well off. That is not the case. I'm going to debunk that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I retired, I had a retired Master Chief was like, "Hey, I got this perfect job for you. Come apply for it." So I went and, did this perfect military lingo to civilian lingo resume, submitted it, just knew I had the job. 2 weeks later, told me I didn't have a job. And suppose it was a long line of people who were also applying for it. And that was the first and the last time I ever applied for a civilian job, because it took 2 weeks for it to tell me no. And I was like, I'm not going to sit here and wait 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
to start my life. And I felt like I had to make that decision. Like, I didn't have evidence that what I wanted to do was going to work in any way, shape, or form. I just knew what I didn't want.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a big thing too, is like, not so much focus on what you want, but focus on things you don't want and move away from those things. And so
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to put my life and my future in a resume ever again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to do this myself. I don't know what that looks like yet, but let's go.
Yeah.
And my husband thought it was crazy.
Yeah. My
So,
husband thinks I'm crazy
mhm.
often, but but the thing is that, when you're an entrepreneur, you've made the decision that that is the route you're going to go. There's one thing when people tells me, "Oh, you don't have to work or your life is so easy because you set your schedule." And I'm thinking to myself, "You want to know what? You can do it too."
Mhm.
But you choose not to.
Mhm.
You choose to go to work. You choose to get a paycheck every 2 weeks or the 1st and the 15th or every week.
Mhm.
That's great. And I don't down that for anybody. But
Mhm.
please do not tell me that my life is easy, because you know what? I don't get a paycheck every week, and I don't get one on the 1st and the 15th. I get one when I wake up, when I work hard, and I make the money.
Mhm.
Because the difference between going to work every day and being an entrepreneur is not only believing it, but you gotta do the work.
You gotta
And
move.
it is so much work. You got
Mhm.
to get your staff to work. You got to get your staff to believe in what you're doing. You got to tell them they have to work the weekends, even though when they don't want to, because you know that you're killing yourself because you're building something. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, being an entrepreneur is hard.
It is.
It's not difficult, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And work is hard, and you have to do the work. If you don't want to do the work, then hey, then that's fine too, because we need a lot of people to move around in
Mhm.
this world. And so with that, I think that I have a tremendous amount of respect when I see the work that you do, being an entrepreneur, managing a team,
Mhm.
getting up, doing it on a day to day, and then forget it. Wait. Because I started my entrepreneurship 18 years ago when there was no social
Mhm.
media. Now there's social media. And so now we got to do content and we got to get on there. And then you have to learn different platforms and mediums. And you're thinking to myself, wait, it was easy. It was easy, a little easier 18 years ago. And it was word of
Yeah.
mouth and,
Door to
you were door to
door, fill
door,
up the
little
seats.
direct
Mhm.
marketing, And so social media is a whole other animal that,
Mhm.
our generations had to really learn. And
Yeah.
I love it. I've embraced it very much so. And I'm truly blessed to have a strong
Yeah.
team that loves it and believes in it and does it really well. But entrepreneurship is a whole other animal. And unless you are not doing it, I don't want to hear what you have to say.
So I want to add to that, because I always tell this to people, like, it's all hard. Everything you do is hard. And if you try to find the path of least resistance, you're going to wind up being super unhappy. You just got to choose your hard. Everything's hard, And in my opinion, like, I'm trying to leave a legacy. I'm not, it's just about money or leaving my family something. It's about what I'm doing and impacting right now, like yourself. Like, your legacy is what you're doing right now with your life. If you're always chasing the money, you're just gonna go down the wrong path, and it's gonna lead you nowhere. Like, you have to choose your heart, because it's all hard. Being free. Like, if I can come here and sit with you on a Monday afternoon, like, hello, like, that's the life, that's the
Yeah.
freedom. If you were to pick
Yeah.
your kids up from school, that's the life, that's the freedom.
Yeah.
Being in the military, you don't have that you don't have that.
Yeah.
You're strapped down to someone else's time. where they need you to be, what orders you're going to get, where you're going to move, where you're going to put your kids in school for the next 4 years. And when you retire, when you transition, it's almost like that's just what you're used to. So that's just what I'm going to keep doing. Let me just transition and go for the path of least resistance. Let me go with what I know versus let me go where the possibility could be. And I think that is so powerful. And I think that is what a lot of military transitioning or veterans are retired. They ever tap into that. They don't teach you that when you're transitioning out. They don't teach you that. They teach you, the medical and all this kind of stuff that it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And this podcast is all about if one person hearing us today will wake up, will feel ignited to go out there and chase their possibility that they dream about and they often think about, but they're not doing the work that it takes to make it a reality. But this episode or any episode that we have had on Candid with Claudia, if they get that fire, then guess what? We've done something powerful here. And that is our mission at Candid with Claudia, is more people to come on, everyday people, to talk about the possibility, to talk about the work that you're doing and saying, hey, you know what? If we're making it happen, so can you. And maybe if one person hears it, then everything I've done here is worth it.
Yes, amen. The power is all in the stories.
Yes.
If I can get one person to see themselves in my story, then I've done it all. Like that you have to get up and you have to move and you have to share your story.
Yes.
And you have to do first. You have to go first.
Yes. Yes. You got to be bold.
Yes.
You got to be audacious.
Yes.
That's your word. That's your word.
My word.
So guess what? It is almost that time. I believe in none of my episodes so far, I have talked about being married or have I talked about my husband. But you know what? I had a great friend that, he said to me once, he loves my husband. And he says, honey, the day you met your husband, the skies were wide open because you just got yourself a gem. His name was Calixto. And he's right. I met my husband at a time where I had lost my mom and my father was not in the best shape. And shortly after my husband came into my life, I lost my father. And I believe in me. But I got to thank the military because while I've never been in the military, although I will say when I was 18, I did want to go to the Air Force Academy. I did. I thank the military for my husband because I don't know who he was before. I only know the man I met in 2005, but he is amazing. Drives me crazy. But when marriage, it doesn't, it's being married. But I'm blessed. And so I met your husband yesterday. And I can see that you both have the same energy. So I will thank the military for giving the foundation and probably my husband's mother too. But I'm blessed and I'm lucky. And then we've been married, been together almost 20 years now. In December, it'll be 20 years. So
I know yesterday when you said that, I was like, 20 years?
20 years. Our first marriage. First and only, I think. That's the rate we're going, I think. So it's about that time to bring Daniel, and I call him Mr. Noel. The kids at the school call him Mr. Noel. And so that's kind of stuck in my head, Mr. Noel. He's like, I'm not Noel, I'm Noel.
No.
And so I'm like, okay. Well, actually, sorry. He'll tell the kids, I'm Dr. Noel. And then our little one will call him Dr. Noel sometimes. So anyway, so far we've talked about the strength it takes to serve and the courage it takes to start again. I'm honored now to welcome two men who have lived that story. Daniel, Kendra's husband, and my husband, Noel. Both are veterans, both have served, and today we're reflecting on what service, identity, and family mean after the uniform. Please join me in welcoming Daniel and Noel. How are you?
Good.
Oh, goodness. Okay, this is... I feel like, though, we have one life, right? But then we have individual lives, right? And so it's this Candid with Claudia now in its season 2. My husband, as we all entrepreneurs and working around the clock most of the time. He has not made it to an episode just yet. And so guess what? Maybe I'm a little nervous. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for being so candid, flying in to be on our show. And it really has been an honor to have gotten to meet you guys and spend some time with you all. And thank you for your service.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, of course, absolutely. Okay, let's start with some questions. All right. We're going to talk about being in the service and in the civilian life and how that has really, as a family and as individuals. So, a couple questions, and you guys can end individually and then together. For both of you, what was the hardest part about leaving the military and adjusting to civilian life, or adjusting to a life as a veteran and or military retiree?
Well, for me, my military experience was a little different than Kendra's. She was a professional logistics specialist, and I was more on the operational side, so weapons and deploying and that operational mindset. So when we start to look at transitioning out, I was so embedded and used to having that team and that guy to my left and right that when that wasn't there all of a sudden, that's a difficult thing to process through. We were able to work really well together because she understands, where I was coming from, the job I was doing, and as we transitioned out, I think we had it easier than some people just because of that understanding. And she knew what I was going through, like when I would come back, when I was gone, when I couldn't talk about things. That's not always there. That can be really hard on families and transitions in general. As I transitioned out, I didn't have that team anymore. I really had to rely on Kendra, and then I was having to find my new, identity. I didn't want to lose my own identity. I being a operator and then trying to transition to civilian life has its own set of really like deep problems that you have to work through. It's not an easy transition to just go work a job.
Yeah.
From my point of view, when he retired, he loved what he did. That was all of his identity. Like me, I was still a mom, I had other things going on, but for him, that was his identity. And it was part of every conversation. So when he got out, he didn't realize, like, what kind of job am I going to get when I get out? I just know how to shoot guns and take them apart really fast and put them back together. Like, not only did that's all he knew how to do, he couldn't do a desk job. He loved that. And so what kind of job would he's going to get, transferring out or retiring from the military that did that? And only thing was like a gun range that doesn't pay that well, right? Who doesn't really see his worth. And so I'm really enjoying this conversation because we're actually in the middle of this right now with him, even though he's been retired for 2 years. He's still struggling with his worth, his identity in that, of not having that community. So right now he pretty much does his job because of the community. He goes there for the community. It's not anything else because I know he can't sit under with me all day long and stay home and do what I do. That would be miserable for him. So we're really in this talk right now, what we're doing of trying to discover what that looks like for him.
Yeah.
Because that's what he enjoys to do. That's his purpose.
I think for anybody like me that's coming out with that sort of identity, finding that next team to be a part of, whatever that means to you, is extremely important. I go to work and I have a new team now, but I have a place and I have people I can rely on, and they kind of understand. They get me. I couldn't have walked into a job where a corporate level, administrative job where nobody understood that. I would be completely lost.
Yeah, and and in the civilian sector, which is all I'm familiar with, there is, because I see it in my husband as well, where you all are brotherhood. I mean, or a band of brothers, right? And women. And when you work for a corporation or you own a corporation, you have team, and teamwork makes the dream work. I get that, but it's different. There's that bond doesn't at times really, you can build a culture and all of that. So I don't know if my husband wants to add anything to that before I go to the next question, which really the next question is, really ties into it nicely is, did either of you experience moments of identity loss or feeling disconnected once the mission-driven structure of military life ended, which is really what we're talking about right now?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's that commitment of the level of the mission, right? So when every person joins the military, doesn't matter if you're an officer or enlisted, you're making a commitment for 8 years. 8 years where you're signing on the paper, technically a check that's worth up to your whole life, okay, for the team, for the mission, for the country. And, you know, if you have a family, then your family's sort of making that same commitment. And so it's just a different level of involvement. And that's where I think you're coming back to the team. Like, we're used to being on a team. And I think that is, to me, you're right, Claudia. I think, hey, I have great, you know, corporate friends and partners, and I've worked for great companies and great law firms and so on. But in the end, it's still just different. That level of commitment where it could, you know, you could give your life for your fellow man or woman that you're on the team with. And you know what? Most of us, we would all be good with it. Okay, that's what we've basically acknowledged, that that's part of the job. It's part of the commitment and the family that comes along with it.
And I even see it now at times where if my husband has a long commute to go somewhere, he'll talk to his same friends from the military for the whole route, and they will just, you know, talk about what they're doing right now in terms of the job that they're in. And so I find that interesting with the friends that he still has at that band of brothers, and they talk often, a lot, and for a while on the phone, as far as just whatever it is that they're talking about. So.
I have some great civilian friends that I've been friends with for decades, you know, decades and decades, but they've always known me in the service. And so they've almost committed to helping me in the service as well. I mean, I had one friend when I was getting ready to deploy to Iraq, it was sort of a last minute thing. I mean, he came and helped pack all my gear. Okay. Because my living room looked like a Army Navy store in a sense, right? And so, you know, and so those I have civilian friends that have committed to helping us succeed in the service. But, you know, I still talk to my good friend almost every day. You know, we've been friends since 1992. You know, we were together at Fort Lewis, Washington, swimming across the glacial river, right? So through training. So it's just that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it is that mutual. It's just that instant connection, like I was saying yesterday. Like, me reaching out to you, knowing what I've lived, it just means something more than someone who really hasn't lived the life that reaches out and say, "Hey, I see you. I know. I thank you." It comes different from me than it does anyone else, because you truly know. And so it's just an instant connection. And that's why social media is really, and for me, so important, because I want to be able to keep that in some aspect and pass that down, you know, because when I served, and I had those hard times, even when I was in or even when I was out, it doesn't get any easier. It's just a different hard. And so being connected in a community that just gets it without explaining anything is just like, you need that. And so I still want to be able to contribute that. That's why, you know, because you will lose a part of yourself. I feel like Daniel would lose a part of himself if he just tapped out completely. I feel like I would lose a part of myself if I tapped out completely after 24 years, 20 years. Like, you've got to stay connected, even though you're not physically contributing in that way. You can do it other ways. You carry it forward. So I just feel like that's important for him now, and that's important for me now in our own way.
Which ties in perfectly to the next question, and that is, there's definitely a special understanding between military couples. How do you think that shared experience has shaped your marriage differently?
Well, 100%, like, the understanding of what we have gone through has helped immensely. Just being able to support each other, because we both know the hardships. Like I said before, like, if when one person doesn't understand or doesn't see or have that deep understanding of what it takes to go out the door, to be put in harm's way, when things get just, when that struggle hits where you have to support each other, it's tough without that understanding. There's ways to get that understanding through talking and being involved, but it takes effort from both sides.
Did you guys ever live in a military base? as a married couple? Was there a community there as well?
We lived in military housing.
Military housing?
Mhm.
Okay.
And San Diego, and then I was in Magoo and housing there as well.
Yeah, so I'm sure even aside from getting out of military, sort of getting out of that environment as well, it's got to be different because then you move into another community where it's non-military, right?
Right now, we have no military community at all. There's no base, which is weird.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
different.
Very
It's-
weird.
It's different environment.
Yeah.
completely.
Anything you want to say?
Well, here there's no base. There's Southern Command headquarters. There's other military units in Miami-Dade County, but we don't. There's Homestead Air Reserve Base, but there's over 100,000 veterans and military families that have made Miami-Dade County home, and so through our post-military time, we've sort of connected with a lot of those people, including yourselves, right? So, and social media has helped sort of close that gap. It's made the world, in my opinion, a lot smaller. And so, now we've made a lot of friends that are, either have served or are retired from the military. And, hey, there's strength in numbers, and I think it's a great thing to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge point to use social media for the good, like you're saying, the good purposes. And there's communities built where people can reach out. I have literally found friends in our new home in Middle Tennessee that I served in the same areas with that are now out, and they're in the same boat. They're in a different place, trying to adjust their work atmosphere and their home atmosphere and supporting their families, and us connecting in our new environment, but having that same link and understanding of each other. Like, we're automatically there for each other. Like, that's a huge thing to have.
You pick up on little keywords. Me and his friend, he's talking about, we were in the sauna together, and she said words. I'm like, wait a second. You were stationed? Yeah, I was. Yeah, my husband's out there. My husband's in the team. And I'm like, my husband was too. What are you talking about? Let's go meet him. And so we go out there, and it's like instant. Now he's like a firefighter in the community, but it's just instant conversation. And it's just such a good instant. It's hard to explain.
It's funny because you just said words, right? Well, when we were speaking earlier, you said the path of least resistance. And so when I hear that, or I hear situational awareness or squared away, which all words that I've acquired through the years, when I hear them from somebody, I'm like, or stand by, all words that have become mine. I own them as well. But I'm like, oh, yeah, that's military. Oh, that's military. Oh, you're in the military? So, so it's really interesting. Path of least resistance. When you said that earlier, I'm like, he says it all the time.
Well, you've assimilated well.
Oh,
so.
It took a minute for me. I'm not going to say it didn't. I mean, I was, although I have nieces and nephews, and my father was in the military in Colombia, I did not serve in the military. And so I'm not going to pretend to say it was incredibly easy. It was not. It was an adjustment, but clearly it was an adjustment that I adapted to, because being adaptable and flexible was necessary. And I'm still here.
And
so I adapted.
I feel like it's almost molded you into this amazing entrepreneur now too, because you had to find your own identity outside of your marriage.
Okay, so well, that's a whole other conversation. We're here about you guys, but I thank the military, not only, like I said earlier, because it definitely shaped him, and he's a phenomenal individual. And I find that when I meet other members of the military, like I've employed individuals who are in the reserves, they're just great employees. They get hard work. They don't whine and complain if they have to get there earlier or stay later. They know what it is to help their fellow team member, because it's what they're used to being in the military. And so when I met my husband, I was not an entrepreneur, but I had that fire inside of me. I mean, my father was an entrepreneur. I have a few entrepreneurs in my family, but I do thank the time that I met my husband. It was the right time. Timing is everything. I don't know if I would have met him earlier, if I met him later, where would we be? But I met him at a time where, as I mentioned earlier, my mom had recently passed and my father was rapidly declining. And I needed someone to help me kind of, stay in between the lines, not box me in, but I'm going to also be really candid and honest. This is Candid with Claudia. My husband also needed me, because I was more that Aquarius, fly by the seat of my pants, and I'll figure it out as I get along. I didn't have the path of least resistance. I took the path of most resistance, and I probably learned from every mistake that I made. But when I came back home, there's one thing I'm going to say about my husband. I am who I am, not only because of my mom and my father and my siblings, but if there's one person who has cheerleaded me the whole way from running for office, from starting my business, from starting this podcast, I mean, everything I do, he will 100%, if it was even possible to say 1,000%, just support my idea. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're going to do it. Yes, absolutely. You want to be the mayor. You're going to go be the mayor. You want to start Miss Claudia Village Academy. You're going to be, you're going to do it. And so I don't know where he got that from, but he has this innate belief in me that if I ever have self-doubt, which is as entrepreneurs, that's very normal. We do. We have self-doubt. But he makes me believe that I can do almost anything. And I have to some extent. So I thank the military for that, I believe. And he's passed on some tendencies that I definitely have. And my staff would tell you I have. Because I run a tight ship and, I believe in, I believe I'm a hardcore team player, but at the same time, you have to have situational awareness. You have to look squared away. You have to be in the right place at the right time. We're in the right, like all that, all of those little nuances that my husband has taught me that I believe he has learned himself, which is going to lend to the next question. This is for you, Noel. As now a retired military and a husband yourself, what stands out to you hearing how they navigated that chapter together as it reflects to our life?
Well, going back to your last point of, how I sort of came up with that theory is believe it or not, it's from a former military person who ended up becoming the president of the United States. That was Teddy Roosevelt. Okay. He said it's not the critic that counts, but the person. Okay. He said the man at the time, but now it's man or woman, to get into the arena and go and make a difference. And that's what I've tried to do. I know that you've tried to do that. It's very clear that you guys are doing that as well. And so, it's not necessarily about the money. It's not about fame. It's not about anything. It's about making a difference, helping people. And I think that, you're going to have critics everywhere, but in the end, if your inner compass helps you guide yourself, and hey, let's face it, the military is a great construct. Okay. It takes probably raw material, great ideas and so on. It helps channel some of that, effort. And I mean, for me, I had thought about getting completely out of the service. Okay. And I had done 10 years in the regular Army. And I think it's the fact that the reserves existed that I was able to make that transition to the reserves. If I was going to go from the regular Army out to being a private civilian, I don't know if I would have left the service because I love the camaraderie and the team and the travel and the adventure of it.
Yeah.
And, if you read about hey, Teddy Roosevelt, hey, he went and took a commission as a colonel. Okay. He was a civilian, he felt so important that, hey, he had to do something. So anyway, so he, part of being a military officer, you have to go through continuing education, right? And so you have to go to Command and General Staff College and you look at the historical battles, the Spanish-American War, the Mexican-American War, those are things. I mean, and obviously Teddy Roosevelt was a big piece of the Spanish-American War, right? So that being said, that's where I learned really about him more. I don't think I really learned about him that much probably in my earlier days in school, but as you learn about these people, you see what people did in the past to be successful, and then you try to learn from it and adapt it. And one of his sayings, somebody had introduced me to it, and I just felt that the man in the arena just sort of applied. And so to me, that sort of what we've done in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Claudia, you kind of said that you don't really see or understand where that level of support comes from. Well, I can tell you, with my support of Kendra, and it definitely drives from the military standing, because I guarantee your husband's the same as me, that we've seen good and we've seen not so good leadership. And the good leadership that you understand where they're coming from and their heart, you put trust in. And I know Kendra's heart, and if she tells me I'm going to lead this or I'm going to create this, I know her heart, and I know where she's coming from. And even if I don't have a complete understanding of it at the time, she has my 1,000%
Yeah.
support. And it's strong. It's a strong need in a relationship especially coming out of the military, that trust and support gets developed. And it can be easier in a way coming out of the military because we're taught that and we see it in so many different levels, but that it can also be a pretty tough transition. It can be a tough thing to navigate.
I think even personally as an entrepreneur too, you want to have the safety feeling of like having A, B, C, like all the plans, like the long, short range training plans. You want it all lined out for you. But moving without evidence and having no plan B is probably the most scariest thing that I think that I've had to do coming out of the military, because it is a lot of risk. You know, but part of me, when you were saying that too, you know what came up for me for Daniel is like, well, he knows I'm probably going to just do it anyway. So.
There is an aspect of that.
He might. He's very supportive, but at the end of the day, he might as well support me because I'm probably going to do it anyway. But I do need his support. Like I always tell people that I coach as well. I was like, your spouse is your first sale.
Yeah.
It's everything. Like if you can get your spouse on board with anything that you're doing, you're going to have a very successful life no matter what, because I don't need permission, but I need his support. And for me to be successful, I need his support. I need his, you know, we come home in the military, we talk about it, we both understood it. Like he doesn't always understand what I'm doing. So I need him to be, it's important for him to be involved in what I'm doing and what I'm a part of, what I'm growing. And right now he can speak to a lot of things that I do. He understands it because he cares and he's a part of that, just like when we were in the military.
Yeah.
You know, we need to speak the same lingo. And I'm trying with his side with the gun stuff. But it's important for us to both understand each side, because it's not just me, it's not just him, it's us, even though we're building something completely different.
Yeah. You said something before about Kendra, and it's interesting because my husband says it a lot. And that is, he said, you know her heart. And my husband, there's one thing he says to me all the time. He says, Claudia, you have a good heart and your heart's in the right place. And so it's interesting that you said that, because he says that often to me. And so I think with him thinking that is how he just blindly will support me, probably because he'll know how to do it anyway, right? But he will.
Well, there's a legal contract. Okay.
The great thing is he's a lawyer, so like I got somebody ask me questions like, "What do you do if you make a mistake?" And I go, "Well, I will call my counsel, and by legal advice, we're going to just move on to the next question." Okay. And then there's that. Okay. So what advice, and I actually think this is good for all of us. Actually, no. How do you both find purpose now? Whether it's through business, I think we've talked a lot about it. We're going to tie it up a little. Whether it's through community, business, or family, that feels just as meaningful as your time in the service.
You want to start?
Sure. So, as I alluded to, like I got out and I didn't really have that identity coming out of the service. So I know firearms, I know shooting. I was an instructor through BUD/S for 3 years. I figured out a way to transition to that into a civilian range that I now work at. So I started working the range, and then I got Tennessee State certified, and then I got USCCA certified to teach firearms and defensive, specifically like defensive shooting with pistols, rifles, shotguns. So I've transitioned that to like carry that part of my identity over. It's still a hard transition because it's different from what I need to know in Iraq handling firearms and working in a team than what somebody needs to know on a daily basis to just bring a firearm into their home and then feel comfortable and confident in being able to use it in self-defense in the civilian world. So that's a tough transition. So I've been working through that, and that's my identity shift. I'm going to bring my training skills, and I'm going to bring my firearm skills and my identity in that. I'm bringing that now to especially women. I've noticed, and I've found a niche where there's not enough women that have the access and the ability to really comfortably learn.
So you're going to step into entrepreneurship. I think you're starting something
That
called
wasn't my goal.
Stronger Her, I believe it's called, right?
Strong Her Defense.
Strong Her Defense.
Yes. So I'm creating a online source where women specifically can come and get the basics, the fundamentals, what it means to purchase a firearm, carry a firearm, have a firearm in their home, answer all those questions that are so hard to know without, you don't know what you don't know. So questions, they don't even know what question to ask. I'm trying to get that information to people so they have direction with it. So that's now mine. I didn't really intend to move into entrepreneurship. That wasn't
I
my
wonder
goal.
where that bug came from.
I wonder where it was driven from. But it's a need that's been identified as I've moved into the civilian world of firearms, and I want to help with that. That's now my identity.
The last thing that someone in our season of life is do content and do the trends. And we talked about this, and it's not the fun part of the business, but what we have to do is we have to grow with the times.
Yeah.
We have to keep up, and not only, it's not, like you said, it's not about money, but it's about where's everybody going. It's on social media. That is the new platform. Like, we have to learn it. We have to grow with it if we want to make a difference, if we want to get our story out there, if we want to change the world per se, right? And it's not in the masses. Like, my goal is not to go viral. My goal is not to do that. If I could just get 4, 5, 6 women, that's all I need, to change their life. So that, for me, purposely, my identity has come from probably the reason why I joined the military. I didn't join the military. I'm going to say it right here on your TV broadcast. Like, I'm going to say it, and it's part of me slaying that shame. And your story follows you. People look at me and they're like, oh my gosh, you're this incredible person who's done all these things. You have all these accolades, but what they don't know is a story behind it. The thing that they don't know about me, the story behind it, is what's going to get them to change their life, because they're going to see you reverse engineer your life. And then people are like, oh my goodness, she can do it. I can do it. So I actually got in trouble when I was 17. I actually got arrested. And back then they sent all the bad kids to the military, right? God knew what he was doing when he handled me. So I chose, obviously, to go to the military. And I stayed my whole entire career up until the 10-year mark based off circumstances. Became a young mom. I became this, I became that. And then, 17, I'm a child. I didn't know. That's why, it's so important for young children to go get that structure, because you have no idea, what you want to do with your life. I had no idea. Ended up turning that into a 24-year career, right? And so I look back, I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I help these women? It's through sharing my story. When I tell them my story, they're like, what?
Yeah.
And I tell them about my, crazy marriage stories and all these things, right? And so, yes, being in the military helps that. It gives me street credibility, like I'd like to call it. But my story is not this one of like, oh, I joined the military and I served my country for 24 years. And yes, I have all that, right? But my story is to show women that it's never too late to recreate. It's never too late to step into your power and just be so bold. And I do that through sharing my vulnerabilities. And I do that through, obviously, social media. So my biggest thing for us, what we're creating, is protecting your health first, because nothing in life is nothing if you don't have your health. Got to take care of your health first, and then obviously protecting your finances, your wealth, all that kind of stuff. Creating wealth and money through your passion projects, through helping and serving other people, and then protecting your home. So that's kind of like this umbrella that we're creating. And if you have your finances and your wealth, and you have your health, and you have your spiritual connection, and you have that, like, I feel like if you have all those encompassed, you can never go wrong, and through sharing my stories, all my military stories, and through sharing all those things with women, they see themselves in my story.
Yeah, of course.
And they're willing to take risk, and they're willing to go outside the path of least resistance without any evidence, without any plan B.
Yeah.
So I like to call it. And they're actually seeing, like, that's possible because she did it.
Yeah.
And that is what I'm so passionate about doing. That's what I love to talk about. And I simply just doing that by sharing my truth, slaying my shame, and just being real, raw, and vulnerable with women. Because when they look at me like I'm on a pedestal. I'm like, let me just knock me off right now. Let me share with you my truth, and let me share with you how you can do the same. And then so they don't live their life by circumstances. They don't make decisions based off what's in front of them, but what's possible for them. And they're able to look past that and not just look what's in front of you is just in front of you.
So, the whole premise of this podcast, when I started it, was exactly on that premise of, and I said it a couple of episodes ago, when a young 11-year-old, this is a cross-generational podcast, so I try to have
Yes.
the cross-generations on here. And I had an 11-year-old ask me, why did you start this podcast? And I said to her, and then she asked me the type of people that I bring on. And I said, well, season 1, I looked in my inner circle. I wanted to know who around me, not only did I have a tremendous amount of respect for, but who was really have lived their story, who has really pulled themselves out of the trenches, who has really made it happen for themselves despite life, whatever life throws at you, because life will throw a lot at you. But not everybody's going to make the decision to get up and fight it.
Right.
Some will just live in that rut, and some will actually do something with it and make it their story because it's their vulnerability. And I said, if there's one person on here that's going to empower and inspire one person listening today to get off their ass and make their possibility reality, then that is my story here, because not many people achieve it. My first guest in season 1 said something, and I will always say it because it's really a part of our mission, and that is every child has a dream of the possibility of what their life could be like, but not every person achieves it, because somewhere down the road, when you're a child, life will throw so many things at you and you get jaded.
Yep.
Your heart gets broken. You got an F on a test. You don't get into the school that you wanted to get into. All of those things may happen to you, but that doesn't mean that that's a reason that you can't prevail. That's not a reason that you cannot move forward.
Yep.
It's all the opposite. Every person that has come on here has had tremendous vulnerability, has had tremendous issues in their life, but they're here because they have pushed through all that and they're achieving their possibility, which is what we dream about, which is when we grow up, we're like, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. Well, I'm hoping that more kids that watches, more of the younger generation will get out of thinking that life is just about, oh, you know what, somebody doesn't like me, or my heart's broken, or, you know, I'm too fat, or I'm too this, or I'm too that. No, that really matters, but we're only going to learn when we struggle.
Yep.
If life was easy, we're never going to learn. And like you said before, and I will repeat it because it deserves to be repeated, and that is everything in life can be hard, but you're going to just have to choose what hard you want. Because you think going to college is easy, it's not. You think having a job is easy, it's not. You think being a mother is easy, it's not. You think getting older is easy, it's not. You think being an entrepreneur, it's not. Nothing is easy. But, and all of it is going to take work. Just what do you want? What work do you want to do? And I think somebody said something and it just resonated. And it was like, think of where you're going to be a year from now. Exactly. Where do you want to be a year from now? Because I think it'd be scary as hell if you're in the same exact position you are in right now. That is more frightening than any costume on Halloween.
Yes. And also to add to that, I was having an experience, and my daughter happened to be on there. She's the mom to my almost 2-year-old granddaughter, and she's going through some personal things right now. And she unmuted herself and she says, Mom, I have to ask you a question now. At this point, I had no idea what was going on in her life. She called me afterwards because I knew something was wrong. My mommy sense started kicking in. But she's like, Mom, how did you get through this time in your life? I remember this time in your life. How did you do that? And at the point, I had no belief in myself. I had no bravery. I was stuck between, my circumstances, stuck with what people threw at me. And I was making decisions and being reactive my whole life. So I really had to put myself back in those shoes 22 years ago, 23 years ago. And I'm like, you know what, Nichelle? I said, I just knew what I didn't want to repeat. So sometimes you just have to move forward, just not repeating the same bad behaviors. Sometimes we're always like, okay, I got to go do all these I got to add all these things. No, you don't. Sometimes it's just eliminating the things that's not going to move you forward.
Well, what do they say? What's the definition of insanity?
Doing
the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I might have gotten that from you too.
Don't live in an insanity world and don't make excuses to cover up to make yourself feel comfortable. Make yourself so uncomfortable and get real with yourself. Like, it's not what should I be doing, it's what I want. And you need to be shifting your behavior, your mindset on what's going to get you there. And it could be just a simplest thing. The simple switch is going to change your life forever.
And usually the first step will be the hardest. You just got to do it.
It will be.
It will
be.
Do you want to add anything to that?
you know, it's so funny. In the military, you learn to improvise, adapt, and overcome. And a lot of times, like what you consider an area to improve on or weakness ends up becoming a strength. Like, hey, I wasn't a huge runner because I was a big guy, but I spent a lot of time when I was a lieutenant running. And I ended up running, you know, in the 12s, in the 11s for the 2 mile. And like, so that became a strength, right? In law school, we had a professor, Bernard Oxman, because I went to law school in the GI Bill. He said, okay, great, you know, Mr. Pace. He's like, you know, that was the best fact of the case, you know, because you had to stand up and actually talk to the professor in the Socratic method. Now he said, okay, so take the worst fact of that case and make it the best one. Right? And so you have to learn to switch your thinking and to move forward, keep going forward.
Yeah, reframe.
That's right. Yeah.
It's all hard. It's all
It is.
hard. It's a beautiful thing. Choose your hard, fail
Choose
forward.
your
My
hard.
retirement speech, I think I use fail forward. Like failing is not, you're not, no, you know, I don't feel like you fail in life. You just have return of investments. You know what you don't want to do.
Right.
You know what you want to do. What return of investment are you choosing today?
Right.
You know?
All right. What advice would you all give to other military retirees or veterans and couples transitioning from a life of service to civilian entrepreneurship or everyday life? Start with you guys.
I mean, we've kind of already alluded to it, but I think the biggest key is just knowing that you don't have to do it alone, that there's tons of resources out there. And even if you don't fall right into an easy path, like there are people that are like-minded, there are people that have gone the path before you. Don't do it alone. Build a support network that reaches towards the same goal, that aren't going to hinder it, but activate it and make you stronger as you work towards something. Don't do it alone. So many people that I've talked to post-military are struggling and they're wanting to do things, and they're just trying to do it alone because they have their ego that they've come out of the military with, or they've been up at that high position and they don't want to start over. And it's not about starting over, but really transitioning. It's making a shift, but it's so almost impossible to do on your own. So find that network, reach out on social media, find those like-minded people that'll really support you in that same thing and keep you building stronger and not hold you back.
Anything you want to add?
I love what he said. I think for me, it's a time to just expand. It's like an expansion. I remember when I was about to retire, you know about the rank system and the evaluations and things like that. They basically asked me to give up my number one spot because I was going to retire anyway. I'm like, oh, how dare you, right? But I knew I was opening the door for someone else. But he had said to me, like, I think you're just being held back here, because I was just like so innovative. I felt like I was put in a box at that point in my 24-year mark. I feel like when you do retire, like this is your time to expand. Don't recluse, expand, and you do need a community. You do need a community, and really, what do you want to, like, what's your legacy? Like, what impact do you want to make on the world? Like, your identity isn't just that. You know, so many people he'll see come in the range that are like 70, 75 years old, and that's all they had. They relive that experience over and over and over again, and that's great. But I want to sit across the table and have coffee with you and talk about what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, really tapping into the difference and the impact you want to make now and today. You have control over that. And so find out what that is for you, what makes your heart beat fast and makes you bring tears to your eyes. And that's what you need to be working towards, because you have every possibility that you can do that, but not doing it alone, and who you want to impact. And so me personally, I'm really like, I love working with men, but not so much as women. Okay. So it's like, I'm really into women and female veterans and being able to, because I know I have that impact. And so in military spouses, so using social media, knock out those hashtags, military spouse veteran. And hey, I see you. Thank you. And they don't have to know, it's not about me, but they'll look at my profile, know I'm a veteran, and then we instantly connect. And you can make a difference that way. It's all about who you meet, you know.
It's about the connection.
It is. It's all about the
and
connection.
Sometimes just reaching out.
Yes. Don't be afraid to reach out. Like I reached out to
Yeah.
you, like here we are.
And here we are.
And I didn't even know like anything about your early podcast at the
Yeah,
time.
I know. Anything you want to add?
Hey, veterans step forward, right? I mean, that's what they did,
Mhm.
right? They volunteered to help the country, and hopefully it benefited them. But one thing I want to say about transition, we talked about veterans and retirees. To me, there is a nuance there. I encourage people who've served, or maybe they haven't served that long ago, or they missed that camaraderie. I mean, I'm telling you, the one vehicle I found that helped my transition was the reserves, right? If I had gone straight from active duty to being a civilian, I don't think it would have been as good. But the reserves, I did over 30 plus years in uniform, right? I did 10 years regular Army, 10 years as a reservist, working with the regular Army, and then pretty much the last 10 years was more in just reserve type units. But like I was able to, transition out and to sort of expand, like you talk about, like you see things you would have never seen if you had, we're in that, you're not in a box, but you're definitely in a channel. Right. And so I think I was able to change the frequency on that and get off of that channel some. Yeah.
We're almost wrapping up with a little lap. Okay. When you look back, what's one military mindset that still guides on how you live today? And maybe one thing that maybe you had to learn to let go of?
Me as a planner, I was a prestige planner. Like I needed to know what was happening in 6 months. So I've definitely learned to like let that go. But what I haven't let go of, and it's a strength and a weakness, is that alpha type taking control. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a hard thing because I'm kind of like in between this question. But it's taught me structure. It taught me the community. It taught me, we called it sponsorship, but like when you meet someone, like you have like 72 hours and then make a horrible decision in your life. I'm like that with my team. Like
Yeah.
I need you to understand that like I care about you and you're here and I'm someone you can come to, right? Open that communication up. So it's taught me a lot about people. It really, really has. Of course, entrepreneurship has taught me a lot too, but they do kind of go caddy, to each other. This is a hard question for me, to be honest, but I would say planner. I would say planning would be a big thing for me because that was my job. Like 10% increase on everything was planning, right? Foresight. And yes, that's important in business too. It is to a certain extent, but you don't want to let yourself down when things don't go as planned. And you are the CEO,
Yeah.
so it's like you kind of have to learn to go with the flow a little bit.
You have
and
to adapt, and as we said,
and
we
all
have to
that
adapt and be flexible.
it is, and
pivot.
in the military, it's not so much.
Yeah.
And so I would say that adapting, being flexible, and not having that high, being able to process the duality of business. But whereas military was no duality, it's embracing the highs and the lows, for me personally, of entrepreneurship and understanding that it's all just a beautiful thing that just all goes together.
Daniel?
I think it's not so much just leaving anything behind, but it's a reprioritizing. It's a resetting what actually can be important. Because when you're ordered to do things, you have an order of importance. I have to go to Iraq this date. I have to run my team. I have to make sure they're prepared. It set a certain level of priorities, and that priority level at that time kind of put kids and family kind of at a second, not by personal choice, but just the requirements of that circumstance. So now I get to kind of pull away from that, and I get to prioritize. I'm gonna go to Miami with my wife, and I don't, it's okay because they can survive at work without me for the weekend.
Yeah.
I get to reprioritize that, but bringing forward the integrity, the discipline, the work ethic that's been driven into me for 20 years of service, being hand in hand with the people that are around you and having that, unrelenting support of whatever people need that are in your team. That comes forward, and that plays a role in everything I do.
Anything you want to add?
I did find it was hard for him to relax when I remember our daughter's a cheerleader. And so even Friday night games, and he's like, well, I've got to work till 8. I'm like, we didn't serve 24 years in the military to miss our daughter's cheer game. Like, you're not doing that.
Transitioning,
reprioritizing.
reprioritizing. Yes.
You don't have to do this anymore. And that was really, and me already being out for 4 years, 5 years.
You had already
I had already
transitioned.
done that.
Yeah.
So I'm over here like, no.
So you're coaching him how to transition.
Yes.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that?
You know, I definitely am going to hold on to my sense of urgency. Okay, I do like that. You know, but usually you follow the commander's guidance. But now, being out, you know, you really, you follow your own, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, he follows mine, right?
Yeah. Well, that's right. But hopefully we talk about it. You know, I mean that's really the thing. Like I think especially as a seasoned veteran or retiree, you know, you can seek mentorship, but I mean, in the end, like, you know, you're now your best own mentor at this stage of life. Okay. I think it's probably more appropriate to ask for advice, but now you have to sort of set your own priorities. One thing that, you know, that I've had to, you know, sort of, and a lot of my peers have as well, is, I mean, like over time, I mean, you suffer, you mentioned your health. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything. Like we talked about, you know, health depreciation from military service is a concern. You know, I see a lot of, you know, colleagues and friends, you know, and, you know, I mean, the VA calls, you know, may call it like disability, but it's not. Like you're not disabled, but you do have health depreciation from military service, unless you've been catastrophically injured. And I mean, yes, there are veterans who are truly disabled, and it's, you know, a very tough situation for them and their families. But health depreciation is accelerated from military service. Like that's just a fact.
Yeah,
and so
I officially was labeled as 377% disabled.
Right.
I've broke everything, and it's just over 20 years of service. It's part of the job.
Yeah.
And while you're going through it, like you're saying, when you're going through it, you're doing the job. You drink water, you take Motrin, and there's requirements, and the priority at that time is doing the job. And your health is kind of second to that for a long time. And it does definitely, post-military life, it starts showing up. It starts showing up more.
Yeah, and I mean, let's face it, people, you know, will drive through, right? I mean, the only easy day was yesterday, and, you know, jumping out of planes and doing all that stuff, but, you know, it does catch up with you. It just does. And you know, talked to a lot of friends, it's just, you know, and hey, they wouldn't do it any other way. They would be full throttle, just like I was for decades, but it does catch up with you eventually.
And the only thing I'll add to that is it brings up a really good point in the conversation of transitioning, the conversation of going military to post-military, of having all of that documented and taking care of yourself while you're in. So when you're transitioning, you stop acting like it doesn't hurt. Stuff that happened, you need to admit and put down on paper, to where post-military you actually have the ability to take care of yourself. Because there's a lot of guys I talked to that they just acted like it didn't hurt. They didn't document it. They just kept pressing on. Post-military, they're really struggling because they don't really have the ability to take care of themselves the way they would if they had just, you know, documented it, talked to the right people, talked to the medical personnel, really transitioned out with a clear understanding of what they did to themselves for the last 20 years. If you're still acting like nothing hurts when you get out, you know, 10 years later when stuff really starts falling apart, you're gonna have a really hard time getting the need and the care that you need to. We're lucky. We're in Middle Tennessee. We have one of the best VA facilities, medical facilities in the country. It's really great. You have to take advantage of those things and let them help you.
And take care of yourself, because you got nothing without health.
Too.
Anything you want to add before I go to the ending?
Oh,
all righty.
Great.
So,
Great.
all right. No overthinking here. Before we wrap it up, I'd like to do candid rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you questions. You're just going to answer without thinking about anything.
Oh gosh.
Okay. All right. First question. First thing you both do every morning, Kendra.
Wake up. No, I'm kidding.
We make the bed.
No, we make the bed
Oh, stop it.
Gotta make
Together.
Your bed. You gotta make your bed.
Stop it. Okay. What's one military habit you still can't shake, Kendra?
gosh, this is hard. Planning. I don't know.
I think trying to structure everything.
Structure. Yeah.
It's literally it's part of
Structure,
the
planning,
same
like-
thing. It's timeline. What 7:10? I have to be.
Yeah, time and
Yeah.
structure and planning and
There's that sense of
Yeah.
urgency.
Sense of urgency.
yeah,
Won't go.
Coffee or pre-workout?
coffee.
Pre-workout.
Deployment food you'll never eat again.
Beef jerky. She didn't really do that.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Chewing tobacco.
Oh,
Never
okay.
again.
Favorite civilian luxury you don't take for granted anymore, Kendra?
Time. Is that a civilian luxury? Time.
It's yours.
Your own time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's a really hard. That's a really hard. Like a million things go through my head.
Favorite civilian luxury you don't take for granted anymore?
A TV that works.
TV that works.
Facial hair.
Yeah.
Facial hair. Ah, look at that. Okay, that's a
I
good
don't
one.
have to shave every
All right, you're
single
going to answer
day.
this one first. Who's more organized, Kendra or Daniel?
Kendra.
Me.
Okay.
I would say civilian luxury would probably be my nails.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, there you go. There
I
you
did retire and got my nails bright purple on my retirement ceremony.
go.
Hey, an actual good bed is also a great luxury. I'll never
Oh.
be without. You know.
You
All
just
right.
have to think about it.
Yeah.
Favorite motivational quote or mantra? Kendra.
Do Daniel first. I'm
Daniel.
trying not to think.
I like it. It always resonates. It hits the radio all the time, but it literally just Sylvester Stallone's like life will hit you hard.
Hmm.
It's gonna knock you down. Nothing hits harder. But
Yeah.
how do you get up?
Oh my
from
gosh,
it?
why
How
can't
do you
you-
move forward?
Yeah,
Is
keep
what
moving.
makes a change.
Failing is only a return of investment.
Okay.
I already
What-
said it, but
Hey, Winston Churchill said, and he was a cavalryman before he became the prime minister. He said, "When you're going through hell, keep going." Right?
What song gets you hyped before a big day?
any worship song, I would have to say, honestly.
What about you?
Hyped. That one's tough. Pretty much. I just put on the heavy metal.
Oh my
Heavy
gosh.
metal mix and just
That's really
turn
funny.
it up.
What about you?
Hair Nation on Sirius XM, right? Yeah.
Me, it's the Christian song called Made for More.
Mm-hmm.
I love that one. Yeah, I love that one. Okay. Who would survive longer in the wilderness?
Daniel.
Me. For sure.
Yeah.
Biggest difference between military discipline and entrepreneurship hustle?
Biggest difference?
Between military discipline and entrepreneurship hustle?
Being able to structure it the way you want to, not
Mhm.
being told
Okay.
what
that's a good
time
one.
you have to do every part of it.
Look at you, future entrepreneurship, answering that
Yeah, he's
question.
better.
Yeah.
It's
Love it.
it's
Move
getting there.
without evidence.
Move without evidence. Okay. Kendra, if you could relive one moment from your military days, what would it be?
Relive, huh? Like, I don't know. I shouldn't relive any of it. Right, do I have to
There's
tell
good
her?
stuff. There's good stuff.
I'd probably say when I got pinned to chief.
Okay. What about you?
Some of my favorite training in Mississippi. Some of
Mm.
my weapon sniper training and stuff. Some of
What
my,
about you?
my best times.
Can't overthink it. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. Seeing my folks that had been lieutenants of mine that are now brigade commanders. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
what's
Mhm.
great.
One word that describes your transition journey as a couple. Both of you. One word.
Resilient.
Resilient. I go with that.
Okay.
Can't think of a better one.
Who's more likely to cry during a movie?
Me. Kendra.
Something people would be surprised to learn about you.
Maybe that I don't drink. I haven't drank in 10 years.
That I'm a grandma.
Mhm.
Of two.
I
Two
was surprised
grandkids
about
and 6
that.
kids.
And I don't have sugar. What about you?
That I don't really have that much sugar anymore either.
Oh, stop it. We're just going to move on to the last question. Finish the sentence. Teamwork in marriage is?
The dream work.
Hard but worth it.
Yeah. Keep going.
Listen,
So they say.
you
Keep
guys
going.
are amazing. Thank you so much for coming to Miami from Tennessee to be on our show today. I cannot thank all of you enough for your service in the military. And my advice to any child listening, if you are undecided about what you want to do, you should join the military too. As my husband would say, it is the best social program.
It is. It's probably the best construct in society for you to go from one walk of life to another, for you to go
And get the discipline you need.
and get the discipline you
Yeah.
need, the education, the training,
Yeah.
you name it. I mean, judges used to say, hey,
That's what happened to me.
go to jail or go in the service.
I was told you're going to go to a girls' home
Yep.
or you're going to go join the military. I was
Right.
17. I graduated a half semester early and got shipped off to boot camp. Had no idea what I was doing.
And those judges were very wise.
Yeah.
I
And
just,
look
I
at me
just
now.
knew I didn't want to go
Yeah.
to college.
Look at me
I
now.
hated school.
My
Yeah.
I want to be a Marine.
my
There you
goal
go.
my goal
Love
was
it.
to do 4 years, get my degree, get out, but I got pregnant instead.
Well, there you go.
So guess what? I stayed in longer.
Yeah.
And then I grown to love it, and it became who I was.
Who you are.
And I helped a lot of young girls coming in
Yep.
the military after that. A lot of young
I'm sure.
lost women.
I'm sure.
And so I found my purpose in that. Now I'm just carrying that through after retirement. I still have people reaching out to me
I'm sure.
to sign their charge books and things
Yeah.
like that, ask me questions of how I did it, and it's become something that people know me for
Well,
now.
it's going to become your legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I talk to
right.
people daily, either in the gym or on the range or in my training classes. Benefits, pros, cons, all the different branches. There's so many doors that can be open.
You just got to know the right people, because they always say your net worth is your net worth. But it's also like that in the military. It's who you know.
Yeah.
It really is. And you can grow so much by the people that you meet. And that's why collaboration like this is so important. That's why
Yeah.
I love podcasts. That's why I agreed to come here, because we don't know how we're going to benefit each other in
No.
the future. But in
No.
10 years, you never know.
You never
And,
know.
and collaboration is so powerful of hearing
Absolutely.
each other's stories and
Yep.
being able to really get that out there. And so
Absolutely.
it's such a
Sharing.
powerful thing.
Sharing and empowering one another. Guys, thank you so much. God bless you guys. Thank you
Thank
all.
you
And
for
again,
having
thank you for your
us.
service.
Thank you.
What an inspiring Veterans Day conversation. Kendra and Daniel remind us that the heart of a veteran doesn't stop serving. It simply finds a new way to lead. Their story is a powerful reminder that discipline, resilience, and purpose can carry us through every chapter of life, in and out of uniform. A special thank you to my husband Noel for joining us, and a huge thank you to Veterans First Legal for sponsoring today's episode and the incredible work they do supporting our veterans and their families every day. Again, check them out on LinkedIn and their website, veteransfirstlegal.com. And to all of you who serve, we honor you, we thank you, and we celebrate you not just today, but every day. I am Claudia. This has been a Candid with Claudia Veterans Day special. You stay inspired, stay grateful, and always keep turning your possibility into reality. Stay tuned.